How's it going, doggy people? I hope you all are doing well. Back at it again with American Standard Dog Training, and how he says that he has the #1 dog training secret that other trainers don't want you to know. So I'm just going to be giving my opinion on this quick one. Right here we can already see these dogs. These two look very stressed. You know, spatulate tongues. Of course, they have their shock collars on, their prong collars, all that nonsense. Some people find that impressive, but let's see what he has to say using this video under Fair Use Act for criticism, educational purposes, just giving my point of view and trying to give the dogs a voice.
The #1 dog training secret that professional dog trainers do not want you to know, and that is that you can train your dog or puppy to walk perfectly on a leash in 5 or 10 minutes guaranteed. Now,
that is silly, and yeah, it's possible. I mean, I don't hide anything. I will tell anybody anything. I don't have any secrets. I don't have any special way, and you can easily, yeah, he's absolutely right. You can teach your dog to walk. Now, the idea or perception of having a perfect heel or dog walk by your side is just the visual that people find impressive. I think it's stupid. It's not for the dog. You're doing it for yourself. There are occasions when you need your dog to be closer, okay. But why should the dog have to pay for that? When they have to learn this totally new concept that is not natural to them in 5 or 10 minutes through punishment, pain compliance, fear, avoidance of pain. If you want to do it, you can. There's many, many people out there that'll teach you for free. They'll charge you for it. You can watch a video. You can do anything. You can use a crop or a stick or whack 'em or use a prong collar or a choke chain or an e-collar or a combination to make your dog obedient and walk by your side in 5 or 10 minutes. You can also do the same thing. It might take a little longer, but you'll have a better bond with your dog by using positive reinforcement, taking your time. You can still, my problem is not so much the dog walking by your side. I mean, it kind of is, but I find it a little more unnecessary, but it's more about how you do it, how you teach it, and how you reinforce it. And reinforce by, either rewarding, or how do you reinforce it by being, a force of nature with your dog. Don't you move, 1 inch ahead of me or this or that. Like, I don't care where my dog goes as long as he's walking loose and he's not pulling me. And a lot of times, halfway through the walk, he ends up by my side anyway. And he still has 6 foot of leash. I mean, when it comes to service animals or just people who just want their dog to be a little bit closer to them, in a crowded area, okay, that's fine. I mean, you can require whatever you want to out of your dog. I just think it's unnecessary when people only ever allow their dog to walk by their side. They can't sniff, they can't do anything. We walk for our dog's sake. We are lucky enough to have this animal in our life that is so easy to work with and mistreat and abuse, and they just love us because they're dogs. So the least we can do is allow them to have a little bit of room on that leash, or if you're going to be walking at heel, then every 10 or 15 minutes, give them at least a quick sniff. I mean, you don't have to do any of that, but I just think, I'm here speaking for the dogs. So I hate all of this. I'm not a fan of all of this, over control of these animals that don't fight back. Oh, you can make them perfect in 5 to 10 minutes.
The reason I don't want to tell you that is because they would rather charge you hundreds or even thousands of dollars, spending days, weeks, maybe even months trying to get your dog to walk beautifully on a leash.
So I assume, is referring to positive reinforcement or force-free people. The reason why I say that is because they act, compulsion trainers like this like to act like force-free people or people who use treats, and we don't use punishment or active aversion or actively use aversive tools, that it takes us that much longer. That's fine. If I take a month or 2 months to teach a dog to walk on a loose leash, that's okay with me, because personally we're bonding, we learn more. It's not just that they're walking by my side. Just because a dog is walking by your side does not mean anything. It means you're holding them back, you're forcing them there. Even if it's loose and there's no tight tension, the threat of violence or the threat of a correction via the shock collar, the prong collar, whatever it is, correction, squirt water bottle, whatever. That's your dog is staying there because of they're forced to. They're not there because they want to and they find it enjoyable. I mean, dogs walk faster than we do, so why should they have to? I mean, we walk for the dog. The walk is so we can get out and enjoy it with our dog, and we should both be able to enjoy it. But if only one of us is enjoying it, like the dog pulling you down the street, I know that's not enjoyable. Same as if the owner is making their dog absolutely submissive and obedient by their side and too high of expectations, that's not fun either. There should be a happy medium.
Now, it can actually be done literally in 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, if you use a harsh enough correction. Anytime the dog gets ahead, they get a harsh correction. You know, it may not be able to be seen physically. You could use the shock collar, e-collar. You can use a prong collar. You can let them get to the end of their leash and just pop them like Jeff Gelman does. But it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to stick. And if it does, then that's just traumatic.
How do you accomplish this, Garrett? That's right. I'm going to tell you right now. It has to do with, guess what we call it? Corrective U-turns, sudden stop pops, and learning how and when to mark and pay your dog.
But you don't. All you have to do is mark and pay your dog. You don't need to stop and do corrective U-turns. You don't need to stop and pop. That is just unnecessary. And in my opinion, cruel. I mean, like, mainly it's just unnecessary.
On the walk, which is, guess what? When they're paying attention to you. If you want to find out more about...
I mean, like, people are so full of themselves. The dog always has to be paying attention to us. I'm not that interesting. I don't care. I don't want my dog to be a little stalker and stare at me constantly. If I say something and his little ear goes back, I know that he's listening to me. Or if I'm walking, I can hear one of his ears always going back because he hears the footsteps behind him. I'm personally hard of hearing, so if my dog hears something in the distance, like if I'm out on a trail or we're like in the woods somewhere, or even just on the sidewalk at night, and he hears something, I trust his vision and his hearing abilities, and I look around and I watch where he's looking, because he can tell me, hey, something else is coming. There might be a coyote, there might be a loose dog, there might be a person walking up behind us, or a car coming up behind us. So that's just me. I let my dog be a dog, and he can absolutely heal. He can be perfect. If I need him to, he can be perfectly obedient. He can be, you know, my sheep is great. I just don't ask that of him because I don't care. I don't need to. So he wants to like promote his course. I mean, that's fine. We're just gonna, you know, go back to these little doggies and just say that that's just not how I would do it. I don't recommend it. I always like to tell people, put yourself in your dog's shoes. Would you enjoy that? Having to walk a militant walk and you can't even sniff, and yeah, there's times and place for when you need it, but 98% of the time, is everybody really walking down busy cities? I mean, I don't know. Apparently a lot of people find it very impressive having a dog by their side. You know, I find it impressive if that person was able to do it with positive reinforcement and they can still let their dog be a dog and go and sniff. That's what I find most impressive. So that's just my point of view, just my opinion. Hope you all enjoyed this, or I hope you got something out of it at the very least. I mean, if you have your dog by your side a lot, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not necessarily harping on you. I'm just saying I just like to let dogs be dogs. So thanks so much for the kind words in the comments. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for those that want to subscribe. Of course, I absolutely appreciate it. And just those who just enjoy watching. So go give your little fur babies, scale babies, feather babies, water babies, whatever, some loving in whichever way that they prefer. Don't go put yourself in harm's way or make anybody uncomfortable. And until next time, stay positive.